Picture this. It's barely noon and you already feel drained. Not because you've run a marathon or solved a world crisis, but simply because of the endless stream of choices you've had to make since you woke up. What to wear, what to eat, which email to reply to first, whether to hit snooze or not. Each decision might seem small, almost invisible on its own, but stacked together, they grind your mental gears until even the simplest choice feels heavy. By evening, deciding what movie to watch or whether to cook or order in feels overwhelming. You don't lack intelligence, you don't lack discipline, you're simply exhausted by decisions. This is decision fatigue, and if you've ever felt that foggy frustration at the end of the day, you're not alone. It's a universal human problem. The good news is that there's a surprisingly simple way to clear the fog, reset your mind, and make decisions with clarity again. One cue that takes less than a second but acts like pressing refresh on your brain. Before we dive into that cue, let's understand why this problem runs so deep. Your brain has a finite pool of mental energy for making decisions each day. Each choice, no matter how minor, draws a little bit from that pool. It's like having a phone battery that drains not just from heavy apps, but from every single background notification. Choosing which shoes to wear, whether to answer that call, how to phrase a message, all of it consumes resources. And here's the catch. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between big and small. Ordering lunch can drain you almost as much as preparing for a meeting, because both require you to weigh options, suppress alternatives, and commit. That constant load leads to mental depletion, and once you're depleted, you don't just make slower decisions, you make worse ones. You avoid choices, delay them, or default to whatever is easiest, even if it's not what's best for you. That's why you buy junk food late at night or skip the gym after work. It's not weakness, it's fatigue. Now, most advice about decision fatigue focuses on reducing choices in advance. Wearing the same outfit every day, pre-planning meals, automating routines. These strategies can help, but they aren't always practical. Life throws unpredictable decisions at you constantly, and you can't automate everything. What you need is not just prevention, you need an emergency reset, a way to restore clarity in the exact moment you feel overloaded. And that's where the daily reset cue comes in. It's not about adding more effort or forcing more discipline. It's about creating a micro-interruption in the fatigue cycle, giving your brain the equivalent of a deep breath before it chooses. Think of it as flipping a mental switch that clears away the noise of dozens of lingering micro-decisions and lets you focus on the one that actually matters. The cue is simple, but to understand its power, we need a framework. I call it the 3 layers of clarity. Layer 1 is pause. Layer 2 is reset. Layer 3 is commit. Together, these layers form the backbone of the 1-second cue. Let's break them down. Pause. When you're about to make a decision and feel that familiar cloud of indecision, you simply stop, just for a heartbeat. Not to overthink, but to create space. This pause interrupts the automatic drain of decision fatigue. Reset. In that tiny pause, you trigger a specific phrase or gesture that signals your brain to wipe the mental slate clean. Commit. After the reset, you make the choice quickly, with confidence, because you're no longer carrying the clutter of the last 100 choices. It's not about analyzing more, it's about analyzing less from a clearer place. So what is the actual cue? It's this. Before deciding, say silently to yourself, "This is a fresh choice." That's it. 5 words. This is a fresh choice. It may sound too simple, but let me explain why it works. Decision fatigue comes largely from accumulated residue. Your brain is still weighed down by the last dozen micro-decisions, even though they're already behind you. You're unconsciously dragging all that mental baggage into the current moment. By saying, "This is a fresh choice," you're telling your brain, forget the previous drain, forget the last 10 tabs open in your mind. This moment stands alone. It acts like a reset button, severing the invisible thread between past fatigue and the present choice. Suddenly, the decision in front of you feels lighter, clearer, because it's no longer burdened by what came before. Neuroscience supports this. Studies on cognitive load show that your working memory can only hold a limited number of items at once. When it's cluttered, performance drops across the board. The act of reframing, deliberately labeling the current choice as fresh, flushes that clutter. It cues your prefrontal cortex to treat this moment as independent, releasing the interference of earlier tasks. It's similar to how athletes use mental resets after mistakes. A tennis player who just lost a point doesn't keep replaying it before the next serve. They use a ritual, like bouncing the ball, to reset. You're doing the same thing for daily decisions, but with a one-line mental cue. Let's walk through an example. You've had a long day. And now you're standing in front of the fridge trying to decide what to eat. You feel the familiar tug. Part of you wants to cook, part of you wants to order takeout, part of you wants to just skip it. Normally you'd linger, scroll through apps, open and close the fridge, wasting time while frustration builds. But instead you pause, breathe, and silently say, "This is a fresh choice." In that instant, the weight lifts. You're no longer deciding with the exhaustion of the whole day pressing on you. You're just making one clean choice in one clean moment. And from that clarity, you can commit quickly. Maybe you choose to scramble some eggs, maybe you order, maybe you grab leftovers, but you choose without the fog. That's the magic. Not perfection, not always the right answer, but freedom from the invisible drag of decision fatigue. The more you practice, the more powerful it becomes. You'll start using it at work, when you're juggling tasks and unsure what to do next. You'll use it socially when you feel drained deciding what to say or whether to go out. You'll use it in self-care when you're tempted to skip exercise or push bedtime later. Each time, that 1-second reset spares you from the downward spiral of overthinking and defaulting. You act faster, feel lighter, and regain control. And here's a deeper layer. It doesn't just change your decisions, it changes your relationship with decisions. Instead of seeing them as an endless, exhausting stream, you begin to see each one as a fresh, singular opportunity. That shift alone restores mental energy because it reframes choice from a burden into a moment of agency. Now, you might be wondering, can something so small really counter something so powerful as decision fatigue? The answer is yes, precisely because the fatigue itself isn't caused by any single decision. It's caused by accumulation. And accumulation doesn't need a massive fix, it needs a reset. It's like clearing browser tabs. One tab doesn't slow your computer, but 50 will. And when you hit refresh, the system runs smoothly again. That's what "This is a fresh choice" does for your brain. It's your 1-second refresh, always available no matter where you are. And because it's so simple, it's sustainable. You don't need willpower to remember complicated systems. You just need one phrase, 1 second, one reset. There's another layer to this that makes the cue even more powerful: identity. Decision fatigue often isn't just about the choices themselves. It's about the story you tell yourself while making them. You might catch yourself thinking, "Why can't I just decide faster? Why am I so indecisive? Why do I always struggle with this?" Those thoughts add pressure and drain even more energy. But when you use the reset phrase, "This is a fresh choice," you're not only resetting the decision, you're resetting your identity in that moment. You're no longer dragging yesterday's indecisive version of yourself into today. You're showing up as someone new, someone who makes clear choices. And that subtle shift changes the tone of the decision completely. Instead of seeing yourself as tired and overwhelmed, you begin to see yourself as capable, present, and in control. Here's something fascinating from behavioral science. Small cues can unlock massive changes because they bypass resistance. Your brain is wired to conserve energy, which means when it feels overwhelmed, it resists anything that looks like more effort. That's why complicated productivity systems fail. But a 1-second cue? That slides right past the resistance. Your brain doesn't fight it because it feels effortless. Yet, in that tiny space, you've interrupted the autopilot of fatigue and opened the door for clarity. This is what makes it sustainable. You're not trying to overhaul your routines. You're not setting up elaborate rituals. You're simply creating a micro reset available at any time. To help this stick in your mind, think of the cue as a kind of mental doorway. Every choice you face is a doorway. If you walk through with the clutter of previous choices piled on your shoulders, it feels heavy and you stumble. But if you pause, reset, and tell yourself, "This is a fresh choice," it's like stepping through unburdened, lighter, able to see what's actually in front of you. That imagery alone can help you remember to use it. Next time you hesitate, picture yourself standing at a doorway. Then step through cleanly with the phrase. You'll be amazed at how quickly clarity follows. Another way to strengthen this practice is to tie it to your breath. When you say the phrase, pair it with a slow inhale and exhale. Breath is one of the fastest ways to regulate your nervous system, and combining it with the cue doubles the effect. The pause interrupts fatigue, the phrase reframes the decision, and the breath calms your body. Suddenly you've got a triple reset, still in less than 5 seconds. Imagine using this before a tough email, a spontaneous invitation, or even a late-night snack decision. The breath gives your body calm, the phrase gives your mind clarity, and together they help you commit with ease. Over time, the compounding effect of this tiny practice is enormous. You'll find yourself making decisions faster because hesitation drains far more energy than action. You'll find yourself making better decisions because clarity leads to alignment. And perhaps most importantly, you'll feel less weighed down by the sheer volume of choices in your life. The truth is, modern life demands hundreds of micro decisions every single day. You can't eliminate them all, but you can stop them from draining you. With a simple reset, you regain control of your energy and your focus. And once you've experienced that feeling, you'll wonder how you ever functioned without it. Let's ground this in a scenario almost everyone can relate to. You're at work, juggling multiple tasks. An email pops up, a colleague asks for input, and you're also trying to decide whether to finish the report or join a quick call. Normally, the pressure of competing decisions spirals into paralysis. But instead of spinning, you pause, think, this is a fresh choice, take a breath and commit, report first. Suddenly, everything feels manageable. You're not deciding under the weight of 10 other half-made choices. You've made one clean decision in one clean moment. And when the next choice comes, you do it again. Each reset frees you, and the cumulative effect is a day that feels lighter, smoother, and far less stressful. What I want you to take away is this: decision fatigue is not a sign of weakness. It's not a flaw in your character. It's simply the cost of living in a world overloaded with options. But just because the problem is universal doesn't mean you have to accept it as your fate. The daily reset cue is proof of that. It shows that even in the most chaotic, decision-heavy environments, you can carve out clarity for yourself in an instant. You don't need more time. You don't need more willpower. You just need 1 second, one phrase, one reset. So the next time you feel that familiar fog, the heaviness of too many options, the drag of fatigue, the frustration of indecision, don't push harder. Pause, take a breath, say silently, this is a fresh choice. Let your mind clear, let the clutter fall away, and then commit. It's astonishing how powerful such a small action can be, but that's the beauty of it. 1 second now saves hours of frustration later. One phrase now turns confusion into clarity. And one habit, practiced daily, can transform not just how you make choices, but how you experience your entire life. Try it today. Try it with the next decision, no matter how small. Notice how much lighter it feels when the clutter dissolves. And let that be your reminder. You have the power to reset at any moment. Because every decision, no matter how tired you feel, can be a fresh choice.